Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am filming my birth story, my labor and delivery story. This has been very highly requested and I'm super excited to film it. I haven't sat down and filmed in a very long time. I want to say about 7 weeks I haven't filmed. It's been forever, but I have been uploading on YouTube because I pre-filmed a whole bunch for you guys just in case I didn't film for a while because I gave birth, and that's exactly what happened. So I had a bunch of videos already edited and recorded to upload for you guys. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into my birth story. I'm not gonna ramble too much, even though I want to, because I haven't talked to you guys in so long, so I feel really chatty. Just an FYI, like a little before I start, there isn't going to be any footage from the hospital or anything like that in this video. I know a lot of people search these videos to see actual footage from the hospital. I'm sorry, this is not one of those videos, so if you wanted to see that, this is not the video for you. One, my hospital doesn't allow any footage or photos to be taken while I'm in active labor, and two, I just didn't want to give anybody that kind of burden to hold the camera. Like, I wanted everybody who was in the room with me to be in the moment, not to be looking through a camera in the moment, if you know what I mean. But anyway, so yeah, I don't have any footage live from the hospital. This is just me talking about it, just kind of chit-chatting with you guys like I'm just telling the story to a girlfriend. So if you are interested in hearing about how I gave birth to my baby boy, just keep watching. So like I said, I gave birth 6 weeks ago. I have been a mommy for 6 weeks now, and I gave birth on February 5th of 2016. If you watched my pregnancy tag or my what's in my hospital bag video, you guys know that my due date was February 11th of 2016, and I gave birth an entire week earlier, like 6 days earlier. And I knew that I was going to give birth early just because from the first appointment, like my first OB appointment, I was measuring bigger. Like when they did an internal exam on me, I was measuring about a week ahead of schedule. His first ultrasound, he was measuring a week ahead, and his second ultrasound, he was measuring a week ahead. I just knew he was going to come early based on those things. I just kind of felt it in my heart that he was going to come early. But unless you are a full 2 weeks ahead or behind schedule, they won't change your due date. So my due date stayed at February 11th, but due dates are just kind of an estimate anyway. So like I said, I gave birth on February 5th, and I will kind of start how I went into labor and what I felt and all that good stuff. So on February 1st, I had my 38-week OB appointment, and I had been going every week since 36 weeks. So I went to my exam and they measured me, and I was 2 centimeters dilated and 80% effaced. And basically, you know, you're supposed to be 10 centimeters dilated to be giving birth and 100% effaced. But I was only 2 centimeters. And I tried to take that number kind of with a grain of salt. I remember my mom was with me at the appointment and she's like, oh my goodness, it's getting closer, because the week before I had been 1 centimeter and then I'm 2 centimeters now. So it's gradually dilating, but I know you can stay at like 2 centimeters for like 3 weeks straight, or you can go from 2 to 10 in like an hour. I tried not to let that number get me like too excited or anxious. Like I said, it was February 1st. It was actually my boyfriend's birthday. It was Marcus's birthday, and everybody was like, oh my god, what if you give birth to the baby on Marcus's birthday? That'll be crazy. They'll have the same birthday. And I didn't give birth that day, and I remember just like making dinner for him. Like I made a little dinner and I got him a cake. We obviously weren't going anywhere. I was 9 months pregnant, and we just chilled at home and everything was fine. So then that week I had planned to film a lot. Like I said, I was pre-filming a lot, so I planned to film a lot, and February 3rd is when it started feeling contractions. And I'm a first-time mom, so I have no idea what contractions were supposed to feel like, and that was getting me like scared. I didn't know what they were supposed to feel like, so I was really nervous that they were really gonna hurt, or was I like not gonna notice them and just like be one of those women on TV who give labor in the toilet. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna feel. Of course, you always read that they can feel just like period cramps, like just like menstrual cramps. So I guess I was waiting to feel like that. And what I felt was totally different. It was just like a really sharp pain, just like radiating through my whole stomach. And like I said, it was Wednesday that I started feeling like just these contractions, and I'm just like, or these pains. I didn't even know if they were contractions. And I'm just like, what is this? It really hurts. And I didn't know what to do, but they were only lasting like 30 seconds. And they would come like once an hour. So I was kind of like noticing them, but I knew I wasn't in labor. They weren't like coming back to back or anything like that. No, I just kind of went to sleep that night and didn't think anything of it. And then at around 11 o'clock at night, they started hitting me, but like more frequently. Like one would be like every 10 minutes and then another would be like every 17 minutes. They were like super sporadic, but they kept coming like from 11 o'clock at night all the way to like 4 a.m. and I was writing down the times on my phone, like on notes, and my doctor said not to come into the hospital until they are 5 minutes apart for an hour straight, and they had to be like 5, 5, 5. They couldn't be like 5, 5, 7. Then you would have to start the whole count all over again, if you know what I mean. Mine were not 5 at all. Like one would be like 3, but then the next would be like 17 minutes apart. So I knew I wasn't in labor, but my boyfriend was like super nervous and he's like, you should call your doctor just to make sure. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna be one of those girls to go in like on a false alarm. That was like my fear, to go in and not be in labor and get sent home. So I just went through it, and then at 4 a.m. they completely disappeared and stopped. So I wasn't in labor, so I guess they were just like Braxton Hicks contractions. And the next morning I remember getting up and I wanted to film that day, and I was like washing up in the bathroom in the morning and I felt a pain again, and I was like, oh my god. I kind of like put myself on bed rest that whole day, which was February 4th, because they say walking around and moving can like induce your labor. So I was like, I'm gonna do everything not to go into labor right now. So I just literally laid in bed all day, like super still. I just watched YouTube videos in bed all day. And because I was home alone and I was nervous, I didn't want to go into labor. My boyfriend was at work, my mom was at work, so I was just nervous. And then my mom comes around like 4 p.m. and obviously I'm like up, and I get up and I'm talking to her, and then I start feeling them again, and they're like once every half an hour. I want to say I'm getting these like contractions and they're hurting, and I'm like, oh my god. I'm feeling it every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes, and I'm like, Mom, should I go wash my hair? Because my hair was dirty. I'm like, should I go wash my hair just to make sure if I go into labor anytime soon, I'll have clean hair? And she's like, yeah, go take a shower, go wash your hair, whatever. So at around like 6 p.m. I go wash my hair, take a shower, and I lay in bed because I'm still feeling them. And I didn't have an appetite. I just was really tired, and I just laid in bed. And my boyfriend came home from work and he got pizza, and it was like 8 p.m. and I didn't even want to eat, like, and I'm not even pregnant, so I'm like super hungry and I didn't want to eat. I was in a lot of pain, and I remember just like going to sleep at like 8 p.m. I was very tired and in a lot of pain. At around maybe 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I start feeling contractions, and they are about every 10 minutes. And I'm like, okay, this is pretty frequent. If you guys are pregnant or haven't given birth before and you're like nervous about contractions, to me, like in my personal experience, it was just a very, very sharp pain. A period cramp to me is just like a dull, like, ow. Like this was like, ow, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like I was literally like, oh my god, like clenching my fist, like closing my eyes, like praying this was gonna be over. And they did only last like 45 seconds, the contractions, but that's a long time to be in pain. Like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, like all the way to 45. That's like a long time to be like in pain. So I was getting really nervous, and I remember just asking my mom, like, can you help me blow dry my hair? Because my hair was wet from washing it earlier that night. So I'm like getting my hair blow dried while like going through contractions, and they start coming like every like 8 minutes. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like flat ironing my hair now, sitting on my bed, like, oh my god, oh my god. And then when it would go away, I would like keep flat ironing my hair. When they hit me, I couldn't even move. Like I would be like stiff because of how much pain I was in. And around midnight, they start coming like every 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is crazy, and it's very intense pain. So I'm like, Mom, get ready to go. I wake up my boyfriend Marcus. I'm like, you need to get up, you need to get ready to go. He jumps in the shower. I'm like, my bags are packed. You guys know my hospital bag was packed. I'm getting ready. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm in so much pain. Of course, that night we leave on February 4th at like midnight or 1 a.m. or whatever time we left. It is freezing outside, like literally freezing. It's like 9 degrees outside, and it's like sleet outside. It was like freezing rain, and we are all driving to the hospital. My hospital is kind of like in the suburbs, so like you have to take like these windy roads like in the woods, and it's sleeting. And I know my boyfriend's trying to drive fast because he's nervous and I'm in pain, but like my mom's nervous because the streets are like slick. So it was just crazy, like a crazy car ride. I had my eyes closed the entire car ride because I'm so nervous and so like in pain. And then we get there and I walk in, and they wheel me up to labor and delivery, and the nurse, she like registers us in the front, and I'm having contractions, but they're coming like every 4 minutes, every 3 minutes at this point, and she's like getting emergency contact names and numbers, and I'm like trying to like breathe through my contraction and talk to this lady and give her an emergency contact phone number. I'm like, oh my god, get me to the back right now, I'm in so much pain. So they take me into like the labor and delivery triage, and then into the room, and well, it's just like one big room with like, you know, beds separated by curtains, and everyone in there is like a girl who thinks she's in labor. So I go in, they tell me to take off everything, put on a labor gown, and put on this like belly band. And as soon as I walk in, I just start crying because I was so nervous, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, am I about to be in labor? Like, I'm in pain, I'm putting on a hospital gown, I'm at the hospital, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, this is craziness, you know? So I'm like crying, I'm just nervous and overwhelmed, and my boyfriend's like, it's alright, it's okay. And in the room next to me, I hear another girl screaming, crying because she's in so much pain from contractions. And in the other room next to me, there's a girl being told, I hear the doctor saying like, I'm sorry honey, we're gonna have to send you home, you're not in labor. And I'm like, oh my god, what if that's me? What if I'm not in labor right now? What if I have to get sent home? This whole debacle of everybody getting up and driving through the snow, and it's 2 a.m. But I was in a lot of pain. Looking back, I'm like, girl, you were so in labor. So I go ahead and I put on the belly band, and a nurse comes in and she sticks like 2 devices inside the belly band, and one is to like keep track of contractions, and one is to keep track of like the baby's heartbeat. And then they put the little thing to keep track of my heartbeat. And around 15 minutes later, my OB walks in and he checks me, and he says, you are 100% effaced and 5 centimeters dilated. You are having a baby tonight, girlfriend. And just walks out super nonchalant. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. So the nurse comes back in and she's like, we're gonna put your IV in. And literally the IV was the worst part of my entire labor and delivery experience. No joke. That IV, like, oh my god, could have killed me. So she tries to put the IV in my left hand, and I scream. To me, IVs and getting blood taken are like the worst pain. When they just have to stick something like in a vein, it hurts so bad. Like a needle, like an injection, like a vaccine, I can take. Like, it hurts, but I'm like, I don't really like, you know, like wimp out. This, I was like, oh my god. Like, I screamed, and she's like, oh, what, you never got an IV before? And I'm like, lady, I'm in pain, you're hurting me, please, like, just stop. And of course she can't get a vein over here, so she bandages me up. I'm like leaking blood, and she goes around to my right hand and puts an IV in my right hand, and I'm like, I scream on that one too because it hurts. Like, such an awkward place to have an IV, and it's so like bony and hard, so it was just hurting. You can't even move your hand after that. It's like this huge needle sticking out of you. So she puts the IV in me, she says she's giving me fluids, and she asked me if I want an epidural, and I'm like, yes. And she's like, okay, we're gonna wheel you upstairs to your labor and delivery room. So they wheel me into my labor and delivery room, and I sit down, and the nurse introduces herself to me, the first nurse who was there. And it's about 3 in the morning now, 3:15. I got to the hospital around 2, so by the time I got wheeled up and everything, it was about an hour, maybe an hour and a half later, 3:30 in the morning. And the nurse is super sweet. She's like the sweetest person in the world, and she's like, we're gonna call the anesthesiologist. He'll be driving from home. She's like, don't worry, he only lives like 10 minutes away, and he usually gets here super fast. And I'm like, oh my goodness, he's not even here, like, he's at home. But legit 10 minutes later, he was walking through introducing himself. He asked me if I had any questions. I'm like, no sir, please give me this epidural. And for the epidural, they'll just ask you like bend over. My nurse was in front of me, so I was like kind of like hugging her, and you bend over so he can, like, you know, put the epidural on your back. And when I was bent over, I'm like crying because contractions keep hitting me, and at that point they're like every 2 minutes, my contractions. It was crazy. And I must have been maybe around like 6 centimeters by then, and they're hitting me and hitting me, and the monitor is showing my contractions, and they are coming back to back. And even the anesthesiologist, he was like, wow, they're really hitting her hard. And my nurse was like, yeah, they are. So I feel like he knew I was in a lot of pain, and he gave me a incredible epidural. Like, I'll tell you guys the whole story. But anyway, he like injects you with like a tiny needle, which kind of just like numbs like the topical, I guess, and then puts like the huge needle into your spine. And I was worried about flinching when he did that, because I'm like, oh my god, if I get a contraction and I flinch and he jams this needle in my spine and I die right here, that would be bad. So I'm like, just stay still. But they like watch the monitor and make sure you're not having a contraction while they're giving it to you, you know? So it wasn't really that bad. I mean, it is like a stinging, and then you just kind of feel like weird sensations in your body, but he was so nice. He was just like, all right, Victoria, you might feel, you know, your right leg get really cold, and then you might feel your left leg get really warm, and like things were happening as he was saying it, so it didn't freak me out as much as if he would have just stayed quiet and not told me what to expect or any side effects to expect. So it was perfectly fine. And then they just kind of leave the tube in your spine to like pump the, you know, medicine, the epidural medicine into you, and tape like the tube to your back. So you have like a roll of tape on your back just to make sure it stays in place while you're leaned back giving birth. And she told me, my nurse was like, you know, you'll probably feel numb in about 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes I was done. Like I was so numb, I couldn't even move my toes. I was numb from like my chest to the tip of my toes. Couldn't move, couldn't get up, couldn't even like, I couldn't literally even like turn my foot. Like it was crazy. I was thankful because I didn't feel anything, and I would look at the monitor and it would show like a big contraction happening, and I was just like, okay, I don't feel anything, this is amazing. So didn't feel anything. So she was like, what I want you to do is just try to get some rest, try to go to sleep. And maybe like 5 minutes later I started feeling super nauseous. Like I got really lightheaded and dizzy, and I was just like, is this normal? Because I feel pretty nauseous. And she's like, you do? And she was just like, okay, I'm just gonna put this on you. And she gave me like this huge oxygen mask, and she just asked me to go to sleep. She's like, just try to get some rest, try to go to sleep. You're gonna need your energy. I'm like laying there, and my boyfriend goes to sleep, and then all of a sudden I feel like this gush between my legs, and I'm like, Mom, can you call a nurse, because I'm like leaking. And this is not regular pregnancy leakage. This is like, I feel a lot of water coming out of me, and I'm like, is this my water breaking? So the nurse comes in and she checks me. She's like, yes, your water has broken. And she's like, and I just want to let you know that you have meconium staining in your water. So what that basically is, if you guys don't know, I just read a bunch about pregnancy when I was pregnant. Like I was constantly reading the books and the articles and Pinterest and the baby apps, what to expect, all of that. I was just constantly reading. So I kind of knew what that was, but she just said, you know, meconium is your baby's like first dirty diaper. What's going to be in your baby's first dirty diaper? It's all the amniotic fluid that he had been swallowing for the past few months is going to come out of him. And it's very important that he has meconium in his first diaper, because they want all of that out of his little system. So when you have meconium staining in your water, that means that he has already like released that in your womb. And it's pretty normal, like that can happen. But what's dangerous is if he swallows it. Well, actually inhales it. He can swallow a little bit of it. It won't really make a difference because it's just amniotic fluid and meconium that he's swallowing. But if he inhales it, like once he's delivered and he takes his first breath, because it's already in all of the fluid that he's wrapped up in, if he inhales it and it gets into his lungs, that can be dangerous, because anything besides air in your lungs can cause trauma and can be dangerous. So she was just like, you know, this is pretty normal, don't worry, don't, you know, freak yourself out. Just when he is delivered, I'm gonna let you know that the NICU team is gonna be here, which is like the intensive care for infants, like newborns. They're gonna be here, and they're gonna have to take him right away to the side and make sure his lungs are clear and don't have anything in them. So basically he wasn't gonna be able to be put like right on my chest, and you know, that kind of like, I was kind of bummed out about that, but I knew it was for his best interest and his health and his safety, so I was okay. When he first came out, if I didn't hear him cry, it was actually a good thing. When the baby comes out, like the first thing you want to hear is his cry to make sure he's breathing okay. But for him, if he didn't cry, it was actually better, because he would have less chance to inhale that meconium. So I'm like, okay. So they were like, if he doesn't cry, don't freak yourself out, it's actually a good thing. So this was all just getting kind of thrown at me, and it was around 5:15 when my water broke. And right after that, maybe around 5:30, I just went to sleep for about 3, maybe 4 hours. Because around 9:30 my boyfriend's mom got there, and we were all in the room together, and I was up, and my second nurse came in, because my first nurse, her shift ended, and she was really sweet. But the second nurse came in, and she was like about her business. She was so supportive and so nice to me, and I just trusted her like with my life. Like she was so nice, and she was just like, from the looks of everything, you're probably gonna start pushing maybe around 11 o'clock, because when I was sleeping, I went from like 6 to 9 centimeters, and which is crazy because I was like sleeping like a baby. I would look at the monitor and it would just show these contractions being thrown at me back to back to back, and I had like, I didn't feel anything. So I was really happy about that. And she's like, you're gonna start pushing around 11. Then 11 o'clock came, 11:30, and I'm like, nobody's coming in here. I wonder, like, am I fully dilated yet? And around 12 o'clock she came in and she checked me and she's like, yep, you're 10 centimeters dilated, so we are gonna start pushing. They just tell you, you know, like one person holds one leg, one person holds the other, and you just push down and bear down. And you kind of like the first few times I pushed, I could feel like I was kind of doing it wrong. Like I was pushing like with like my head, like I was like like pushing from like my head. You're supposed to just put all your energy down there and just push down. So around like maybe like, you know, 15-20 minutes into it, I started getting the hang of it and I was pushing, and then his head started like peeking out, and my whole family, like my, you know, my boyfriend and our moms were there. So there's 3 people with me, and my room was packed, by the way. I had my 3 family members, you know, my boyfriend and our moms, my nurse, a student nurse, because my nurse had like a student like shadowing her, and she asked, she's like, can I be in here for this? Like, she's gonna be a labor and delivery nurse, and she had never been in actual live labor. So I was like, yeah, sure, like I had no problem with it. There's the NICU team, which is a doctor and a nurse, and then when the doctor came in, she had a student doctor with her. The room was packed. And then at around, I want to say like 12:50, 12:55, my doctor walked in, like the OB. And she wasn't my OB who was with me the entire 40 weeks, but she works in the same practice. So I had met her before. She had been to one of my appointments before, and she was awesome. And right when my OB came in, that's when the NICU team came in, and they got everything set up just to take him and make sure his lungs were clear. So as soon as my OB came, she told me to push, and his head came right out. And then she was like, one more push and his body will come right out. And it's funny because I didn't really feel like his head come out. Like I couldn't tell his head was out, but when his body came out, like I just remember, like it's like the weirdest thing. I remember exactly how it felt. It was just like I felt his shoulders, his little arms, his little legs, his feet, everything just like wiggle out of me, and it was like the craziest moment. And I just started bawling. Like I was sobbing hysterically. It was just overwhelming. I think it was like overwhelming tears. I was happy, I was sad, I was surprised, I was just overwhelmed with love and emotion and everything. I'm just sobbing, and my boyfriend's there kissing me, and my mom and his mom are crying, and they take him right away. When he came out, he started crying. And remember, the nurse in the beginning was like, it's better if he doesn't cry, just because it'll be less likely for him to get meconium in his lungs, and it'll be safer if he doesn't cry. But when he started crying, I was just really, really nervous. And Marcus, my boyfriend, went over to like the little NICU section. It's in the room. It was just another little like kind of table section they brought in where they were checking him at. And he went over there, and you just hear the baby screaming, and then my boyfriend starts talking to the baby, and you just hear no more cries, and everybody's like, oh my god. Even the NICU doctor was like, oh my goodness, do you guys see this? Like, he started talking, and the baby's just quiet, and the baby just stayed quiet for the whole time that my boyfriend was talking to him. And it was just like the craziest thing. She was like, even the NICU doctor was like, oh my god, I'm like tearing up. They checked him, and thank god everything was amazing. He was perfect, he was healthy, he hadn't inhaled anything, thank god. And they brought him right over to me, and they laid him on my chest, and it was the most amazing moment. It was like surreal to me, and I got to do the skin to skin, and it was just amazing. That moment was so amazing. Like I did not let him go at all. And while they were checking him, they weighed him and they measured him, and he was 7'1", and I thought he was gonna be way bigger because of how big I was and how much weight I gained, but I guess it was all the cheesesteaks and pizza every night. But anyway, he was 7'1", and he was 20 inches long, and he was little scrawny. He was so little, and when they placed him into my arms, it was just surreal. It was like so much emotion at one time, like just the whole ordeal. It was like, oh my god, it was so much. But I just felt overwhelming love, and I was just so happy, and I don't know, I just couldn't believe it. I just kept looking at him, and he was so alert, and he had these big eyes, and he was just looking at me, and I was looking at him, and we did skin to skin for like 2 hours, and it was so amazing. And I just felt so just bonded to him immediately. And after that, like after we did skin to skin for about 2 hours, they took him for about 2 hours to the nursery. They were going to do some more tests on him and test, like, you know, his hearing, and they just do different things, like put drops in their eyes and give him a vitamin K shot and just different things that they do to newborns. So my nurse told me we're gonna take him for 2 hours. That's when we will transfer you to your recovery room. And she was like, the first thing I want you to do though is order anything off the menu, get it delivered, room service, and enjoy it because you deserve it. You did a lot of work, you had a really long labor, and order anything you want. So the whole time during pregnancy, I didn't eat lunch meat. Like, I was not eating any turkey and cheese sandwiches, nothing like that. So the one thing I wanted was a turkey and cheese hoagie, so I ordered that, and it was the most delicious meal of my entire life. I think just because after labor you're just so exhausted and so hungry and you haven't eaten for like over 12 hours, that whatever you eat after labor is gonna taste like heaven, and that hoagie will forever be remembered as the best sandwich of all time. After I ate and everything, after my boyfriend ate, we got wheeled to the recovery room. My epidural was still really strong, even though they had taken the tubes out of my back and everything. She was like, oh, can you stand up now? I was like, no, I can't even feel my toes. I can't even like move my leg. I can't even wiggle my leg. And she's like, oh my goodness. She's like, that epidural was really strong for you. So I was thankful, but afterwards I couldn't move. Like, she's like, most women just get up after the labor and they can like even walk you know, like off the bed and get in a wheelchair and get taken to the recovery room, and I couldn't. I had to get like moved to a different bed, wheeled out, like that whole night. Mind you, I got the epidural around 4 o'clock in the morning. 9 p.m. that night, I still really couldn't walk myself. I kept like dropping when I would walk. Like, the nurses had to come in every time I had to use the bathroom because I could not stand up. So it was crazy. My epidural was a little strong. I'm thankful for it, but it was a little dangerous because I could not stand up at all. So that night he stayed with me. He pretty much roomed with me the entire 2 days. There was like periods of time where the nurse would come in and see me like sleeping, and she would take him, or she would just offer to take him for an hour, and I'd be like, okay. And it was amazing. I loved my hospital stay. I had an amazing time. I loved everything about my labor and delivery. I couldn't ask for a better labor, delivery, recovery, or birth story in general. I just am thankful, and I thank God every day that it went so smoothly and I had such an amazing experience. And I just wanted to touch on like a few things like recovery. Everybody's recovery is going to be so different just because we're all different human beings, and you know, pain tolerances and what's comfortable and what's uncomfortable for different people. Just like in my what's in my hospital bag video, there were so many, like pretty much 90% of people were nice, but some people were like, you're not gonna need that. Or so many people like were saying such crazy things about recovery, like you're gonna be so tired, you're not even gonna change out of your hospital gown, you're gonna need like bulky pads, you're gonna be in pain, and I really wasn't. Like, recovery was pretty smooth for me. I wanted to change out of my hospital gown. I couldn't wait to take a shower and put on my PJs that I brought from home. I didn't need Depends. I didn't need like these huge medical grade pads. I was fine, and it really wasn't that bad. So, you know, for all like first time moms out there, if you're pregnant right now and just like reading a lot of scary stuff, it like, you know, there's a possibility that it won't happen to you. So just don't, kind of just take people's advice with a grain of salt, because you'll scare yourself. And also with breastfeeding, I feel like it's very easy to scare yourself out of doing it. You read so many like horror stories, and so many people are like, it's so hard. I cried every time he breastfed. He wouldn't latch on. It was painful. I cracked. I bled. And for me, it was so, I don't want to say easy, but it was just, it worked. He latched on, and I like toughed it out. And I mean, it's a little sore. Like, it's not painful. I don't want to use the word painful. It's just like a little uncomfortable maybe the first few times he does it, because your whole body is sore, plus you're tired and you're exhausted, plus he's just learning how to feed and how to be in this world. So he's trying to like find a perfect latch. So it can be a little difficult, but the best 2 pieces of advice that I would give you if you're thinking about breastfeeding, or maybe if you just gave birth and you're having a hard time or anything like that. One is, make sure you see a lactation consultant in the hospital. She really helped me. Just her pieces of advice and how to hold him and what's right and what's wrong. It was just very helpful. And if you don't like your lactation consultant, or you feel like she was mean or she didn't give you any good advice, ask a nurse or ask for a different one. There's everybody on the labor and delivery floor can help you out with nursing, and I made sure that everybody did. I asked every single one of my nurses to make sure I was doing it right. When I couldn't do it right, they helped me. My lactation consultant really gave me awesome advice. So just make sure you soak in like every piece of information anybody gives you about nursing at the hospital. And then another thing that I found really helpful is when they first latch on, it might hurt, but do this trick. Just count backwards from 10. So 10, 9, 8, and by the time you get to 1, it shouldn't hurt anymore. If it does hurt, that means his latch is wrong and you should just, like, you know, get him off and try to start over again. That was like the best piece of advice, because it kind of just puts your mind on something else during those first 10 seconds that it might hurt a little bit, but I just count down from 10. Sometimes I counted down from 15, and when I got to 1, it wouldn't hurt and he would be fine and he would be drinking. So I thought that really helped me and made it a lot easier. So that was my entire birth story. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any other questions, I hope I covered everything, because I didn't want to be too vague, but I didn't want to be like too graphic and in detail. So I hope I covered everything. If you have any more questions, you can leave them for me down below. You guys know I always answer your questions. And now the most exciting part, I'm gonna show you my baby boy. Say hi, baby. Say hi, baby. This is baby Marcus with the hiccups, because he just woke up. What? Hi. He's like so amazed by the ring light right now. So this is him, and he's a little chunker right now. He gained so much weight. He's doing so amazing, and thank you guys for all the well wishes on Instagram and on YouTube. You guys have been nothing but sweet and supportive, and just telling me you hope I'm good and hope the baby's good, and I appreciate every single one of you. My baby getting fussy. So we are gonna go, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys. You don't like when mommy films.